Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Ocran, welcoming you on behalf of the Virtual Academic Board chaired by Comfort with support of the entire crew. This is your most inspirational show and the point of convergence for the greatest minds. If you are here with us, it's because you have a great mind and you love great conversations. Your virtual university is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with the Multimedia Group and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, and UMB Bank with support from the graphic business. So we've been having some conversations about my top 10, and I love the response and the huge debates on social media, especially after the inaugural discussion with Moses K. BaIden, followed by that with Professor Audrey Gadzekpo. So let's say we've done business and done communications. Let's move on to somebody whose name is symptomatic with investment, but who I know to have several hats, including being a pastor, an author. Let me add a disciplinarian, because I've known him for 42 years, since 1979, and he's one of the people who has had a significant role, impact in my personal life in terms of my foundational Christian growth. So I am talking to a mentor, not just to the wider populace, but to myself, somebody I've known as a brother for years and who I really treasure. And it's my honor to welcome the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Daniel Ogbarmey. That's it. So good to see you.
Same here. Excited to see you. I think we've not met in a while, but thank God that we have this opportunity to interact once again. And I do miss the road shows, around the nation. I'm sure sometime in the future you'll still find a way of getting me on, one of the platforms.
It's amazing how and you spoke on the very first edition of the roadshow, yes, I believe.
Yes.
And it's amazing how a lot of these things that we began over a decade ago have continued to grow stronger, evolved in form,
sure,
and still touch lives.
Yeah.
And the most interesting part is to meet somebody who says, I listened to Reverend Ogbarmey say something about investment, and I went ahead to practice it, and today this is what I have. And they won't even bring your share with
No. But at least it's good that they actually work with the information they got from the platform.
It is gratifying to hear them rehearse.
Absolutely.
And people do it always. And
absolutely.
They talk with details.
Absolutely.
And it's always heartwarming.
Sure.
So thanks for the support over the years. When I mentioned 42 years, it was almost like a joke.
But it is real.
It is real.
It just hit me when I mentioned 4 decades. I said, wow, that's been a long time.
Yes.
But we thank God that, over the years we've maintained, the friendship and the relationship. And I think that we are going to keep it going and to go better and better in the coming years.
Let's just say amen to that. So,
amen.
Reverend Ogbarmey, this is a conversation that is seeking to distill the principles that govern your life. I can literally close my eyes and tell the public, because I've known you that long and I've seen them. I don't think that there are things that you'll be saying that will be strange to me. But for yourself as a person, as a leader, as a mentor to so many, the principles that govern your life. But before that, let me take you in a direction that is arising from the point that you just made. I'm asking about the roadshow and some of our interventions. So we just finished the first quarter roadshow. We've expanded it into 4 quarterly events, and we engaged virtually. It was actually our ultimate plan since we launched digital engagement at Springboard at 10. But we intended to do it a bit more into the future, but COVID made it necessary for us to do it immediately. And at the end of the day, we reviewed and asked ourselves, isn't this a better way? Because people sit and engage all over the world, and they are so much a part of every single thing. From where you sit, doing various things, now you're doing AGMs online and so on. How has the world responded to virtual ways of doing things, pastoring virtually, running businesses virtually, doing meetings virtually? From your perspective, how has the world responded?
I think the world has really adjusted to the need to bring the virtual platform to the fore of various activities. And while, 2020, many will say was a difficult year, I think one of the good signs is the fact that we have realized that we can do more with the virtual platform. You can see that we are able to have international conferences, people at different locations, and we achieve the same results. Of course, the direct human interaction may be missing, but at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is achieved. So I think there has been a great adjustment all over, including churches. For instance, in my church, we were not really into the virtual space, but we were forced, and it's gone so well. So I think that there has been a great adjustment, and I believe that going into the future, it will continue to be an important platform for engaging. And what it does is it allows you to even reach more people. I mean, like you said, I'm not surprised that your first quarter virtual Springboard Roadshow event attracted a lot of participation. So I think that going forward, we're going to see more of that. So it's more about making sure we have the right investment to ensure that we can get the most out of the virtual platforms.
Interestingly for us, we called this one the leveler. We called it a leveler because in terms of absolute numbers, we've always had big numbers participating virtually. But this time, we're forced to ensure that the person at Damongo, the person at Kintampo, had the same experience as the person in Accra or London or New York. And that was really our achievement. So in designing the program, whatever we're doing, whether it was giveaways or question time or anything, no one was left out to be disadvantaged. And that for us was very exciting. The fact that where you live or pray from doesn't matter. You have the same experience.
Absolutely.
And that was our biggest takeaway. Let's zoom in on what you sleep, eat, and drink, because we can't bring you here and not start from there before we go to your top lessons. COVID has literally transformed everything around us. But let's come back to your pet subject. Has it changed the principles of investment in any way?
I would say it hasn't. If at all, it has brought to the fore some of the things that some of us have been advocating. So for instance, you recall I always talk about the need to have emergency funds, and the fact that the experts say that you should have at the minimum 6 months of your monthly income in an emergency fund, so that in case of emergencies, you have a fallback position, and then your situation doesn't necessarily deteriorate because of that emergency. And in 2020, there were people who lost their jobs. In fact, there are still people who are out of, gainful employment. So you find that all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't have a fallback position. So I think that COVID has brought to the fore the need to really manage your finances, plan it well, make sure you have not just emergency funds, but also funds for retirement. There were people who, when they go on retirement, then they have challenges. So I don't think COVID has really changed anything. And another thing, one other point that, again, we have in the past advocated the need for multiple income streams as a way of expanding your income base. It has also come up that maybe this particular line could be affected by something. So if you have multiple sources of income, then when something happens that affects one, you'll not be so much hit because you have multiple income sources. I think if at all, COVID has really brought to the fore the need for everyone to avert their minds to how they manage their finances, how they plan their finances.
The beautiful thing about consistency is that I'm looking here at your notes, the notes from your two of your appearances on the virtual. You are quite a regular here, so when I see, I'm selecting which ones I'm referencing. So on the 12th of March, 2017, you did one with us on crafting a 10-year plan for your individual finances. And some of the points you're making here were canvassed on that show very, very strongly. Then you came back in that same year on the 11th of June to talk about multiple careers multiple talents, and guess what? Multiple streams of income.
I see.
And you brought that point home in that interaction as well. So you are coming back to say that these were points you made in 2017. 4 years on, they are even more relevant.
They are even more relevant. Absolutely.
So for those out there, those of our viewers and listeners who have no personal financial plan and no arrangements in place, this must have been a very disruptive season for them.
Absolutely. And indeed, there were people who really had to go through a rough patch, very challenging. The good news is that all is not lost once you have life. That's one of my pet philosophies. Once you are alive, the Bible says that a living dog is better than a dead lion. Once you are alive, there is hope. You can take the step. It's never too late, to craft a plan for yourself. You just need to get some advice, and then you can get on your way. You don't need to, look for a big way to start. Like we've always said, you start small, and then you scale up with time. Think big, but start small. So if you find yourself in that situation, you can get advice. There are books that you can also read, and it can help you. So all is not lost if you have life.
Excellent. Springboard your virtual university. The conversations about my top 10. You can call them principles, lessons, commandments, but they are the top 10 things that Reverend Ogbarmey Tetteh would like to deposit with you as you also navigate your journey in life with great expectations about the future. We've shared some introductory thoughts, but let me come to you, Reverend Ogbarmey Tetteh, and ask you what would be your first 5 principles that undergird your life.
Okay. So thank you. When you asked me to do the top 10, I was struggling which to eliminate, but eventually I came up with a list of 10. So I'll go through them. Maybe some people might expect me to have added some other point, but to me, I think these are 10 points that I have lived with. I have, imbibed in my, journey here on earth so far. The first is time management. That's the first. So I'll list the 5, and then maybe I will elaborate on them. So the first is time management. And then the second is getting information or getting informed. And then the third is getting a good name. So time management, 1, getting information, 2, getting a good name. Then number 4, being in the learning mode. And then 5 will be having values. So time management, getting information, getting a good name, being in the learning mode, and then values.
Let's bite at them and help us understand them.
Right. So if we take time management, I've always believed that when God created the world in the beginning, the first thing he really created was time. Because in my view, once you had day and night, once you let there be light and it separated, it brought day and night, and that means time. So time was important right from the beginning, and time always is something that we will have to work with. A lot, in fact, everything that you can accomplish is accomplished in the space of time, and if you look at it that there are very successful people, there are very rich people, but there are also unsuccessful people, there are poor people, but they all have the same amount of time. You can get one person having more than 24 hours. It's 24 hours in a day, it's 7 days in a week, 12 months in a year. We all have the same time. But you find that some are able to make a lot more out of the time they have than others. And the question is why? It's because of their view of time, the fact that time offers them an incredible opportunity to make something out of their life. So time is so important. And Reverend Albert, let me say that I some years ago, I heard you cite the example of Methuselah, and that really stuck with me. The fact that he is known to be the one who lived the longest, but there's not much written about what he was able to accomplish while he had that time. And I remember that, I think it was a message you preached at the data bank, one of the data bank Thanksgiving services. So time is so important. And if you look at the fact that with the same time, some are able to make a lot out of it and others are not able to, you realize that it's a question of how you see time and how you position yourself to make the most out of time. I get people asking me, Rev, how are you able to, like you said, you're a pastor, you have a family, you're working and all of that. How are you able to juggle all of that? It comes down to time management. Okay, I make it a point to, see time as life, because time is life, and I look at how I can manage time. I look at how I'll avoid time wasters, things that waste time. I try to tell myself that it's not everything that is urgent that is important, but everything that is important is urgent. Because, for instance, your phone rings. It's urgent, pick me. But maybe what it is for is not really urgent. And I think I've given this example in church before where back in the day, when my mom, who has gone to be with the Lord, was alive, and she used to take care of my kids while I'm at work. That's my wife and I at work. So there was a time that, those times, anytime I see a call coming from, the home number, I quickly will pick because I don't know what the situation is. And I think there was a time a call came and I picked it. I think I was in the middle of a meeting. I was about to go into a meeting, something very important, but I had to pick it. And it was one of my children, and I think she was talking about a color pencil or something that, somebody had taken. So, well, for her, it may have been important.
It was very important. It was very urgent.
You see, but, relative to what I was doing, it wasn't important. So I always try to tell myself that it's not everything that is urgent that is important. And I think if you bring that philosophy when it comes to time, because your time is limited, whether you're going to be blessed with 100 years, it's still limited. So once you know that time is limited, and I think you are a man of God, so you know how in Psalm 90, verse 12, the psalmist says that teach us to number our days, so we apply our hearts unto wisdom. So once you realize that time is limited, but time is an important resource, time is life, then you have to avert your mind to what you can do to manage time.
Let me go to your second point on getting information. It seems to be the one I'm patiently waiting for because there's so much I want to bring from there.
Yes. You know that I have a background in research, so I've always been big on information. Now, my view is that life is all about the information that you get, and the kind of information you have will determine the path that you would go. When it comes to, for instance, investment, which is an area I have worked in all these years, one of the key things we say is that you need to inform your investment choices. In other words, it's not a question of, everybody is going this way. Everybody is putting money in this instrument. Let me also do it. You need to get information. And indeed, the investment world, you realize that it revolves around information. You find that the interaction between those who are buying securities or those who are selling securities, the common denominator is the information that you have about the prospect. And so on and so forth. So information is so critical. And you agree with me that we are living in an information age where everything revolves around what information you have. In the business world, you hear something they call information asymmetry. And when that exists, you find that people are able to, take advantage and make some gain. So information is so critical. One of the times I traveled, before I traveled, I think someone said, look, once you're educated, when you travel, you don't even need to really ask people. You just need to read, look for signs, and it will tell you what to do, where to go. Because if you go into a different environment, you may have different experiences, and then if you're not informed, you'll be totally lost. So information for me is so critical. And to me, you need to know where to get information, who to ask for information, and even what to ask. Okay, so where do you get information? Because, again, you agree with me that, especially in these days, there's a lot of fake sources, So where do you look for information, and who do you ask for information, and what questions do you ask? It's important not to take things on the face of it. That's why, I'm talking about you must know what to ask. Because sometimes somebody may present a certain situation to you, a certain scenario, and you need to interrogate it. You need to ask the right questions. The other day I was reading some book, and the person was saying that when it comes to information, pay attention also to not just what is said, but what is not said, what is unsaid. But the whole point is that you must tell yourself that to make progress, to forge ahead, to be able to achieve my goals and my objectives, I need information. So where can I get information? Who can I ask? And what questions should I ask that will elicit the right information?
Let's push on to your third point, getting a good name.
Albert, yes, getting a good name to me is one of the most powerful things. And in my 50 plus years I've been around, I can confirm that getting a good name is priceless. Of course, the Bible already makes it clear that a good name is rather to be chosen than riches. And I think getting a good name is a function of a number of things. For instance, how you speak or what you say is a function of how you behave or how you act. Getting a good name is a function also of your work, the results that you produce. Getting a good name also can be traced to your knowledge, how you articulate your knowledge. Getting a good name can be linked also to the kind of impact that you make in the lives of people, the difference that you make in the lives of people. Reb, I read something the other day which really blessed me, and it said that rich people don't give. It's good people who give. In other words, giving is not about how much you have, but because you have a certain heart. And when you do that, you realize that when you make a difference in the lives of people, you get a good name. Sometimes it's just, a little help someone needs, So for me, getting a good name is so important. I have experienced how getting a good name has, seen me through so many different situations that, I really encourage. Let me give one quick example before I go. So one of my mates some years ago, he came down from the UK and he had some amount of money. He wanted to invest. And he asked me, how do I go about it? And I said, okay, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. And I said, okay, here is the money. Invest it. Then I said, okay, you need to fill the. I said, no. Invest it in your name. I was surprised because, back in school, he wasn't like my buddy, because I was the SU type and he was, you know what I'm saying? But because of the good name that I had, I believe by the grace of God achieved, he said, look, invest it in your name without batting an eyelid. I was surprised. Of course, I did that and I was very accountable, and he got his desired expectation. So getting a good name, it will take you places.
I am humbled by the point you make about trust, or what I tend to call reputational equity.
Absolutely.
You deal in equities, so you will understand it that well. And what you're saying is that your reputation can itself be part of your asset base.
Absolutely.
To the extent that rules that people make, they can bend them because it is you that are dealing with, and therefore your trust precedes you. Stephen Covey talks about the cost of doing business reduces as a result of trust.
Yeah.
And when people trust you, the cost of doing business with you reduces. And he ties it, and he says the time involved in doing business to reduces when people trust you, because a number of processes can be cut short because it is you.
And all totally agree.
So they confirm what the Bible says about a good name
is rather to be chosen.
Rather to be chosen than riches. Let's push on to number 4.
Yes, that's also another exciting one from that's being in the learning mode. You know, when you are born into this world, you begin a journey of learning. You learn how to speak, you learn how to walk, you learn how to bath, you learn how to do everything. Then you go to school. Why is it that people think that after school, learning should stop? You know, and for me, I believe that learning never stops and is a continuing basis. You know, there's this interesting quote that I read many years ago, and I think it has reinforced this learning mode that I'm talking about. So this is how the quote goes. I'm sure you may have heard it several times. It says that the more you learn, the more you know. The more you know, the more you forget. The more you forget, the less you know. The less you know, the less you forget. The less you forget, the more you know. So that's why.
It's like a cycle.
Yes.
Run by our viewers again. Let's put it on the screen for them. So the more you learn,
the more you know. The more you know, the more you forget. The more you forget, the less you know. The less you know, the less you forget. The less you forget, the more you know. So it's an interesting cycle of learning, you know, because learning never stops. And for me, I learn from other people. I learn from my mistakes. I learn from both great and small. And, you know, I've always told myself this, that when in the Bible, God said in Proverbs chapter 6, that's at verse 6, that go to the ant and thou sluggard and learn from his ways.
Love the scripture for years.
I tell you, you know, it tells me that you can learn from the ant. So no one should ever say that I can't learn from this person because I am so high up and this person is, so much below me. You can learn from anyone. And for me, I always have this idea that, you know, I can learn and I should learn, you know. And
it takes humility to pray that way, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Because I accept that I don't have monopoly over knowledge. I may have acquired knowledge in a specialized area, but I don't have knowledge over everything. So for me, I'm always learning. I can tell you that when I was much, much younger, let's say, I think 12 years old, when I used to attend Methodist Church, Kaneshi Methodist Church with my mom, anytime I go to church, I have my notebook and I'm taking notes. And I can confirm that I do that till today. So I'm the senior pastor, but if anyone is preaching, I still take notes. Because I believe that you can learn from anyone. Because God says, go to the ant. So you can even learn from the ant. So I believe that once you keep learning.
Just by the way, for those who may not know you for that long, this is something you do not just encourage, you were enforcing when we were in secondary school, even in university. But you see, I suspect that for such lifelong attributes, it must have been something in your childhood that was imparted to you, because you used to be very, very hung up on it. It was almost like, how do you even come to a meeting without a notebook and a pen? What are you coming to do here? And you used to take it so seriously.
Yeah.
You used to wonder what the big deal. You're coming to just be patient. But on a lighter note, and if I may add, maybe a more serious
please go ahead.
I think you were a regulator even when you were Anyway, SU president and Calvin president. I think we were cast in the mold of a regulator. So I'm not surprised. I was not surprised when you appointed a regulator because it fits your orientation right from those formative years.
And you know, when I was coming here, I was thinking of an interesting incident that happened, which I'm sure you remember. I think our friend, Reverend Joe Kumi, I think both of you observed me using pomade in a certain way.
I'm telling you, it was amazing.
And I can tell you that I still do it the same way.
You know, on a lighter note, maybe the Methodist in you, or it is
maybe the methodical.
Yes, but with the benefit of hindsight, it is an attribute. And for those of you who don't know, it was just a particular pomade that had an inscription that rubbed deeply in the scalp. So here we were visiting Reverend in this room and seeing him holding the pomade, reading the instruction and rubbing it into the scalp. He said, "So just put the pomade." He said, "No, rub it deeply." I think a certain meticulous attention to detail and application fits your career pursuits, and all of your person seems to fit into the roles that God puts you in: research, asset management, and then now regulation.
Yeah, and you've been teaching, when I was at Legon.
Teaching. Yes, I want to believe that, and it may not fit into somebody who's an artist or who is into a different career orientation. But these are attributes that help anyone on the way.
Absolutely.
We really are running out of time, but let's do the values and then we'll go for a quick
break. So the values simply, I'll just say that what you believe in, what you stand for. I think many years ago, I heard the Archbishop say that if you don't, and I'm talking about Archbishop Duncan Williams, he said that if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And that stuck with me. That's many years ago. He wasn't an archbishop then, but you must stand for something. And Rev, I'll tell you that one of my values is consistency, and that's why you find that in many things you'll find me minding the same thing. And like I've been talked about this pomade approach, so consistency. And when, for instance, I'm reviewing a document, I will be looking for consistency, so that if you are using, let's say you're writing currency in a certain way, you shouldn't write it in one way on a page and in another.
Page.
Yes, So the thing is values. There must be something that you stand for. You must be known for what you stand for.
That chapter in your biography, all right. This is Springboard Venture Investing. My guest for today, the Reverend Daniel Ogbarmey Tetteh. And I can tell you something, it's always a joy to hang out with this great man of God and this big brother of mine who I've known for over 4 decades. Let me cross over to my colleague Nicole, who will be joining us after the break, to, as usual, ask one big question. But let me cross over to Nicole. What she has today on the Data is King segment. Nicole, over to you.
AI strategy. According to a McKinsey report, 94% of business leaders expect their people to acquire new skills in order to remain relevant because of the AI revolution. Recent data shows that we have vaulted 5 years forward in consumer and business technology adoption in a matter of around 8 weeks when the COVID-19 pandemic was at its peak. So what strategies are business leaders employing to help their employees work alongside AI? Terry Walby, founder of Autonomy, suggests 5 things business leaders can do to support their employees. 1. Remove the fear. Show how employees will benefit. 2. Be transparent and inclusive. 3. Focus on reskilling employees. 4. Create automation champions. 5. Establish a positive culture of automation. So our question for today is, what strategy are you deploying to ensure you and your people are not left behind?
Hi, this is Albert and I have some great news for you. Here is one more way to matriculate and graduate every single week. Your favorite inspirational program, Springboard Virtual University, now airs on Joy Prime on your multi-TV at DSTV channel 281 every single week. Join us this and every Friday from 5 p.m. till 6 p.m. as we explore different subjects under our theme for the year, repositioning. Springboard Virtual University will therefore now be on Joy FM, Facebook and YouTube every Sunday at 7 p.m. and on Joy Prime from 5 p.m. till 6 p.m. every Friday. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation in partnership with the Multimedia Group and proudly sponsored by MTN, UMB Bank, the Enterprise Group, with support from the graphic business. Springboard, your personal value will shoot up.
There once was a man who had it all. He had skill, he had charisma. He was loved by all, but above all, he knew the importance of helping others, lifting others up. He knew the importance of giving other people an advantage so that they too would use that advantage to help others. All you need is that advantage that sets you apart from the rest. And when you discover that advantage, life's challenges don't seem so daunting anymore. That's where we come in. Enterprise, your advantage.
Don't be left out. Download the Pulse app from the App Store or Play Store to mash up all day, every day. You can also enjoy more mashup. Just buy the new Mega Bundle and get 3 gigabytes data, extra 400 megabytes for your social apps, and free MTN to MTN calls every Monday. So go ahead, feel the Pulse on MTN Pulse. Just be. We're good together. Everywhere you go.
Hi, this is Albert and I have some great news for you. If you've been following the wow moment of the MTN Pulse since the first quarter ratio, you must know about the opportunity to win 1,000 Ghana cedis worth of data, about 3 years or 2 years of your data requirements. I have news about the first winner of this wow moment, and it's Emmanuel Kwe Anani Sewona, a level 300 information technology student of the Ghana University of Communications. So guess what? Emmanuel gets to win 1,000 Ghana cedis worth of data. We caught up with him earlier in the weekend. This is what he had to say.
Emmanuel Kwe Anani Sewona, a student of Ghana Communication Technology University, Kumasi campus, currently level 300, pursuing a course in information technology. I participated in the MTN Wow Moment during the Springboard virtual convocation. I'm not sure I can be a winner because there are many of us joining the virtual shows. So like, who is going to be the winner? So I just did it, but I got my mind off it. But I just got a call saying that likely I'm the winner. I'm the first winner to win 1,000 airtime worth of MTN. I was like, wow! I was shocked. Like, this is a dream come true. So I would like to first of all thank MTN for granting me this prize, and I would like to encourage all youngsters out there, individuals, people, to also participate during the wow moment. Then likely they'll also be winners. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
So this is Emmanuel's lucky day, and next week will be your turn to win in the MTN Pulse wow moment. How do you win? Simple steps. Number 1, download the MTN Pulse app and mash up. Number 2, get 10 friends, family, loved ones to also download the app and mash up. 3, send us your name, your phone number, and your social media handles to info@springboard.com.gh or 024 9999 555.
You verify the 10 people, and you could be in there to be a winner next week of 1,000 Ghana cedis worth of data or airtime. Let's do it again next week. My name is Albert. God bless you.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation. Over the past 45 years, we've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we're poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Welcome back to Springboard, the Virtual University, and to this conversation, my top 10 with the Reverend Daniel Ogbarmey Tetteh. Before we went for the break, Nicole was sharing some lessons about artificial intelligence. And I tell you something, our world has come to a very interesting point in our lives. And there are times when I take my phone, I go to Google and I'm about to type something. And I type the first letter and it tells me Deuteronomy 28, or it tells me that, and I'm like, hey, take your time. Who told you? So Reverend Ogbarmey, you've given us time management, 1, getting information, 2, getting a good name, 3, being in a learning mode, 4, and having values, 5. I've been enjoyed by Nicole. She will sit with me as we take the last 5, and I'll find out which one is her favorite, and then also her big question for you. But just to note that your 5th point about having values is corroborated by a top 10 leadership competencies study that was done. And 195 global leaders were asked the leadership competencies that they would highlight, and 67 of them, without a doubt, chose strong ethics and safety as a key one. And they were asked, what does it mean? And so the person must have high ethical and moral standards. Guess what? I find a correlation between that point and your number 5, having values, and number 3, having a good name.
Absolutely.
It would seem that anyone who wants to rise in their careers at the beginning, like Nicole, must pay attention to these things, because that's what the business leaders were looking for.
Absolutely. Because these days the business leaders will tell you that competence it can be easily acquired. You can train people, but values is really internal. It has to do with the personality, the character, and if you don't cultivate the right character through a series of habits that you pick up and stick with, you don't have the value that would qualify you to be entrusted with great responsibility in the workplace.
Your uncle, Warren Buffett, he made the same point. He says, if he was to take 3 attributes that he would hire people for, it would be integrity and 2 others. But even that one, if he was forced to use integrity, the 2 others can be acquired.
And in these days of artificial intelligence, you can get, AI to do some analytics for you,
Yes.
So that's why you'll be looking for people with values. I think it's important for people to know that.
Let's crush your next 5
the last
attributes.
5. Okay. So the 6th is stay relevant. 7th is take responsibility. 8th is remember social capital is important. And then number 9 is what I call the best mindset. Then I saved the best for the last, number 10, the God factor.
I want to capture them in your own words. So, number 6, stay relevant. Number 7, take responsibility. Number 8, remember social capital is important. Number 9,
the best mindset.
The best mindset.
And then number
10, you call that saving the best for last. You say it's the God factor.
The God factor. Yeah.
Excellent. Help us to appreciate relevance. In my mind, I'm just thinking COVID. But help us to talk about relevance.
Well, so when I talk about stay relevant, you need to understand that society is dynamic. Changes occur in needs, in expectations, and so on and so forth. So you can't say that you are not averting your mind to the reality of the change in the environment. So by staying relevant, I mean that you should be able to question the status quo. Ask yourself, am I doing what is relevant today? Maybe it was relevant yesterday, but is it relevant today, or will it be relevant tomorrow? We know businesses that have gone out of business. I'm sure, Reverend Albert, you remember Kodak.
Oh, yes.
So question the status quo
and make changes.
And make changes. Dare to be different and embrace change. So for me, when I talk about staying relevant, it's question. So you find that anywhere I go, I question. So I've been at the commission and I question things that have been done and you realize that when you question things, people may be doing things because that's how it's been done, or they've not thought.
Do it?
Yes.
We have a cultural orientation that doesn't encourage questioning. We find questioning sometimes offensive because, why didn't you believe me? Or do you doubt what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Because we are not by nature very inquisitive or curious
Yeah.
people. Let's go to take responsibility.
So I believe strongly that it's not a good posture of always looking at what the other person should do, whether in a business situation, whether in church, whether in marriage. You find that people are always looking, oh, he should have done this. If he had done this, if my father had done this, but take responsibility. You are in charge. I tell people when the Bible says that work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, it means that you are responsible for what you do. And people don't also realize that the choices they make is what determines their future. But when you have that sense of responsibility, you get to know that, look, I am the one who is ultimately responsible. I make the choices. I'm cognizant of the impact or the effect of those choices. I ask myself, in this situation, what can I do? So you find yourself in a work situation, the boss is not there. But whether the boss is there or not, what can I do about the problem that is at hand? Or how can I improve on the situation? So that's what I mean by taking responsibility, where you ask yourself, what is my role here? What can I do? What difference can I make? How can I ensure my own happiness? How can I ensure my own progress?
I'm almost at that point where I know which one is my favorite. But let me ask you about social capital. You couch it nicely. Remember, it's important. That means it's possible to forget.
It's easy to forget. People sometimes, especially when they, excuse me to say, get into certain positions, they forget that you may not be there for forever. Again, when some people are leaving, let's say, a job, they don't live well, not knowing that it's a very small world that we are in. So when I say social capital, remember social capital is important. Relationships are key. And you must always make sure that you don't burn your bridges. You must make sure that you cultivate relationships. I was telling my church this, that Jesus emphasized relationships. So when he was teaching us about the Lord's Prayer, he said, our Father, that's relationship. Then on the cross, when he told John that, John, this is your mother, and he said, mother, this is your son. It was relationship. So relationship is important, and that opens a lot of doors. I have seen how relationship has opened doors for me in different areas in my life here on earth. So remember, relationship is important. Never lose any opportunity to build a good relationship.
Let me tell you two perspectives of this. So my friend, our mutual friend, Michael Benson, and we have a number of stories about Michael Benson, myself, and you. Yes. And the regulator. But there's something he said several years ago that I said to him that it was the most profound thing he's told me my entire life. And anytime I meet him, I remind him. He says, don't cut what you can untie. And that relates to walking away.
Yeah.
He says, don't cut what you can untie. Cutting is faster, is more convenient. Untying is sometimes it takes time, it takes effort, but when you untie, if later you realize that it was wrong, it's easier to tie again. But when you cut, you have destroyed things in the process.
Absolutely.
And that for me, I thought was absolutely significant.
Yeah.
The point you make about social capital is, I call it relational equity.
Absolutely.
So when you talked about building a good name, I told you I call that reputational equity. And this one is relational equity. So you're talking about equity. Since you are here, you must talk about equity. Okay. All right. What about
the best
mindset?
That's one of my favorites. You know, when we were growing up in school, we were taught this rhyme: good, better, best. May I never rest until my good is better and my better best. I'm of the view that many times we don't do our best. Wow. If we will be brutally honest with ourselves. Now, when we are going to school, we don't learn as hard as we can. We wait till when the exams are closed. We do some last minute. We do what we called in our time punching. And then you kind of are able to go through. But if you ask yourself, did I do my best? I mean, if you are brutally honest with yourself, you realize, I could have done better. And that also carries into a lot of things, whether it's your work, even what you do in church, marriage and all of that. So I always say that you must have this mindset that I will do my best to the best of my ability. So I have coined my own phrase from this rhyme. So I call it, be your best, do your best, and don't stop. It's a 3-action phrase that I think can resonate with people. So be your best, do your best, and don't stop. So don't stop being your best, and don't stop doing your best. So I always tell myself, push a little harder. Paul said, I show you a more excellent way. So there's always a better way, or you can push. So let's keep pushing ourselves to do our best. So that's what I mean by the best mindset. Just for the record, that's the type. This number 9 is the one that will pinch many of us when you started by saying, if you're brutally honest, we don't do our best very well. I think it's a straight point. Let's go to number 10. Yes. So the God factor, and I said I was saving, the best for the last, because I was blessed to have been raised in a Christian family, and I came to the Lord when I was 11 years old. So for the most of my life, I have known that, without God, you can't really achieve, the fullest potential that you are endowed with. Indeed, your very life, you owe it to God. When I look at what Jesus said in John 15, verse 5, it's one of the verses that I picked up when I was much, much younger. I think I was informed to. He says, for without me, you can do nothing. For without me, you can do nothing. If you look at again what Jesus said in John 3:27, he said, a man can receive nothing except it be given him from above. If you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 12 and 13, where it says that of making many books, there's no end, much study is the weariness of the flesh, that he concludes by saying that he listen to the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for that is the whole duty of man on earth. So I am totally convinced, fully persuaded that with God there is a difference. And, when I talk about grace, I say that grace is God in your race. So your race here on earth, if God is not in it, you'll miss out. You may be able to do something, but I believe that the God factor will make all the difference. And when I look at my life, maybe others can speak for themselves, but when I look at my life, where I have come from, what I've been able to do all these years, I always say that it's purely by the grace of God.
God in your race is your summary of the God factor. And just for the record, the Ecclesiastes conclusion of the whole matter, the first time I heard it from you was 40 years ago. So that speaks to consistency.
Consistency.
It's very important. Reverend Ogbarmey Tetteh has been my guest as we've broken down his top 10. And as I come back to him to say the benediction, if I may say that because he's a Reverend Minister, let me cross over to my colleague Nicole, who has been patiently writing down notes. By the time we finish this series, Nicole will be a philosopher because she's getting to hang out with the mentors that many people look out for and look up to. Nicole, we've heard from Reverend Ogbarmey, and I have several stories about this, but I can write a whole book about him without consulting him. I recall the first lessons he gave me on investment. I said, what a great idea, and I didn't do it. A year later, that particular instrument that he introduced me to, credible, solid instrument till today, had appreciated so much that I told myself, why didn't I do it? But I went ahead and did it afterwards, and my life has never been the same again. But for me, this is a man I can't stop talking about because I've known him for that long. But he says time management, number 1, getting information, number 2, getting a good name, number 3, being in a learning mode, number 4, having values, number 5, staying relevant, number 6, take responsibility was number 7, remember social capital is important, that's number 8, number 9, the best mindset, and number 10, the God factor. For everyone listening out there on social media, or on Joy FM or Joy Prime, wherever you are, just join us on social media as we debate which of the top 10 is your favorite. Nicole, which one is your favorite?
The God factor.
The way you said it, if you had said anything else, it would have been difficult. Why is it your favorite?
Because, like you said, grace is God in your race. And I see that every day of my life. I see God at work anyway on me and in the lives of others as well. So the 10th one really, really, really resonates with me. That is the one I'm taking away from this session.
Wonderful. So you have a chance to ask Reverend Ogbarmey a question to close this session. What will your question be?
So, Reverend, you have successfully combined ministry work with family duties and corporate work. Emerging leaders like myself face many challenges. What would you advise that we do to become more productive and remain at the cutting edge?
I think I will pick my first and then my last, top 10. That would be I can say that's my story. It's about knowing that God's grace is what you need. And let me tell you a story, Nicole. When I was at Legon, I was so very much occupied with evangelistic work and so on and so forth. And there were times that there would be some of my mates who somehow they believed that I was intelligent. So they were going to do research, different libraries. Then they'll bring it to me. So, Ogbarmey, we have seen this. What do you think about it? So I also look at it and I'll say it makes sense. So they would have done the work, but then by coming to me, I also learned, And so if I was able to do well, I'd say it's pure grace because I was busy, traveling, to secondary schools to do evangelistic work. And then there were people who would do some research work. And because they had the perception that, this guy is a smart guy, they'll come and they want me to check it out. And in checking out, I also learned. So it's pure grace. I tell people that grace is what has enabled me to, if you like, combine the three main things I've been doing. But also there's the element of time management. I try to make use of what I call time taps, and I try not to waste time. So I'm waiting for someone, maybe I'll be reading or preparing part of my message, so it's just making use. And I can tell you, I attended a funeral, I think 3 weeks ago, and there was a preacher preaching. He preached a very nice message on the funeral. But while he was preaching, he used a verse, and that verse gave me a message, not related to funeral, but so while even in there, then I put down some points that I later developed to preach in church. So it's all about making use of every little time, every little opportunity, knowing that time is limited, but there's so much you can still do within time. So I think that mindset is key. And then the grace of God that makes all the difference.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's been insightful, a time of reconnection, but also a time of inspiring you out there and believing that there's something that you have that can be a blessing to humanity. And so as you start out on this journey, let me respond to somebody who said something on the social media conversation after our very first episode. And the person wrote, I won't mention your name, the person wrote, so what if you don't have a successful father and you have great ideas? How do you also become somebody? The good news I have for you is that the people we are interviewing averagely started very, very simple lives from humble beginnings. And these are many people we've known for years. And God has been able to bring them this far. And so you can also become great if you take these lessons. And we are collating every week. Watch out for the commonalities. I don't want to tease out any so that it will influence the next resource person. But watch out for the common threads. And at the end of this series, we will compile 10 times 10. 10 top 10 lessons from 10 mentors, and I'm sure that will be priceless information for you. So get a notebook, get an iPad, get something you are recording these 10 principles with, and they'll be an asset for you on your journey. A big thank you to you, Reverend Ogbarmey.
My pleasure.
Let's do this again because there are a few themes we still need to explore. Thanks, Nicole, for your contribution. And so on behalf of Team Springboard, led by Comfort, and on behalf of the Multimedia Group, our sponsors MTN Pulse, UMB Bank, the Enterprise Group, and of course the Graphic Business. My name is Albert Ocran, saying God bless you, and God bless you.